I am Evriyani Afifah.
My name is Tanya Sholihah.
And my name is Bernadita Agnes. Now, we would like to talk about Edgar Allan Poe's story, The Telltale Heart. Happy watching!
So Amira, yesterday I was reading some biography about Edgar Allan Poe, but I thought that I didn't understand much about Edgar. Do you want to explain more to me about Edgar?
About his biography?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to talk about Edgar Allan Poe's biography. He was born in January 1809, and he was an American writer, poet, critic, and editor, best known for evocative short story and poems that capture the imagination and interest of readers around the world. And his imaginative storytelling and tales of mystery and horror gave birth to the modern detective story. And many of Poe's work, including The Telltale Heart and The Fall of the House of Usher, became literary classic. And some aspect of Poe's life, like his literature, is shrouded in mystery, and the lines between fact and fiction have been blurred substantially since his death.
So, as you said before, you said about the Telltale Heart.
Yeah.
And in my literary class, I was studying about some theory about new criticism, and I want to analyze the poet's story about the Telltale Heart, and what do you think about it? Because when I study literary theories and start to talk about new criticism, new criticism was born about because it doesn't match as the old criticism, and then the new criticism is born, and it was interesting enough to me to analyze the poor story about the Telltale Heart with a new criticism itself. So who's the people I can contact or ask about this story?
Okay, I have a friend, and her name is Evry. Okay, now we can talk to her.
So hi Evry.
Hi.
I was talking with Amira, and before I talk to you, I want to tell you about I am really interested in Edgar Allan Poe's story about the Telltale Heart, and Amira said that you are you have capability enough to tell me about the Telltale Heart, because I want to make an analysis for my literary theories course, and I want to ask you to be my some kind of search and data analysis
About the Telltale Heart. So the Telltale Heart tells about someone who commit a murder and then ended up confess it because he feels guilty. Its story genre is horror, and it's written by Edgar Allan Poe, as you know. The paper aims to analyze the story thoroughly, including its themes and its literary and rhetorical devices. The methodology that used by the paper is discourse analysis, which essentially reveals social psychology and characteristic of the protagonist, who is not named by the author. The tale tells about a crime that he had committed, and then he proved that he is not insane and completely sane.
So before I know that the Telltale Heart is genre horror story, I was thought that the Telltale Heart is about a romance story. As you know, I mean, I didn't really like the love story, but it sounds like love story for me. So it was the horror genre,
Yes.
of course. So when I want to try analyze the Telltale Heart with new criticism, do you think that I can make it happen, or I can make it good as my literary theories course?
Of course, because this short story can be analyzed with new criticism.
Okay, then thank you, Evri.
Thank you.
So Agnes, before I ask you about the new criticism that I want to analyze to my course, I want you to tell me about the summary of the Telltale itself, because I honestly I never read the Telltale before, but I'm really interested at Edgar Allan Poe's background.
So yeah, basically this short story talks about the man who kept saying that he's not insane, he's not ill. It's just, he just suddenly talks like that. And this man, annoyed by the eye of the old man that lived with him, he said that this eye is just like a vulture, and he really wanted to kill the old man and close the eye forever. And he killed the old man, and as soon as he killed the old man, he cut the body into several pieces, and he hid the old man's heart, under the floor. And after that, he started to hear the voices of the heartbeat, and it keeps louder and louder and louder. And when the police came in to the house, suddenly he just admitted his own crime. And I think you really should to read that story, because that story was really interesting.
So, as you said before, it was the really interesting story to read, and I am really interested to the story. But if I want to analyze the new criticism theory on the Telltale story, I mean, I can use any poet's writing style, or any poet's opinion about the story itself, because I just can't to analyze the text itself. And when I reread about the new criticism again, it never can be some new criticism if I still talk about the backgrounds of poet itself and etc. So what I want to really know is your opinion about the story itself, and not using any poet's opinion about the story. I'm really emphasize that new criticism is about how we write, how we read the story itself, and not looking for the other opinions about the writers. And I thought that maybe the writer, Edgar Allan Poe, want to share the hidden meaning in the story. And what do you think about it?
So if we talk about new criticism, of course we should analyze the literary works with no considering to the author. So I think we should just analyze like the theme and also the setting. And I think the theme of this story itself, that everyone else maybe not realize in the story, is the theme is about paranoia of the character itself, and also about mental disorder, and also of course it talks about the mystery, because myself still think about the
the real meaning of the story itself.
I know.
And if you talk about the setting, I think what explicit in that story is in the house. And if you talk also, this is the interesting part of the story. I think if you talk about the point of view, how the author wrote the story itself is really interesting because he used the first person point of view. He wrote like he did the act in that story, and the character in that story were not named. So I think that that's the most interesting part of this story because there's a little writer that use that kind of that kind of styles in writing, and so I think the character itself is really interesting, and also these stories have lots of symbolization. For example, like the eye. Why does it wrote the eye, not eyes?
Yeah, I know.
Yes, something like that. And also, why the heart is beat faster and faster and faster? What the motivation behind of it? And yeah, there are lots of symbolization in this story, and I think the new criticism itself is really great to analyze this story, something like that.
So that as I said before, it used a house to put the story itself. I know that the story is strong enough to interest us as the readers, but I thought that the story is full of hidden meaning because why yes, as you said, it used the eye, not the eyes. Also, why it just using one room to start the story, and till the end of story it just happened in one room, and also why the story is using one person to the story and not using any name of the character itself. So it is interesting enough to use the new criticism as we have talked about the story itself before. So when we talk about the new criticism, can we use any data of other analysis in out of the new criticism itself, or we can just use the new criticism to the one story?
I think if you choose to use new criticism, you should just use one data. You just analyze you just do your analysis without see to any other opinion and also any other analysis about it, because it could affect you to make the similar analysis same as like them. And yeah, maybe and also maybe you could find any other element that really interesting in that story if you decide to use new criticism, because you just have to focus on your analysis.
Okay, Agnes, it was really helped my analysis, and I think that I can use the new criticism for my final paper in literary theories course. Thank you, Agnes.
Yeah, thank you.
So Amira, what do you think about the new criticism theory?
I think based on what Tanya and Agnes said before, I can conclude that new criticism is the theory or the analysis where you cannot watch anything except the text itself. So you just analyze the element and the component of the text itself, and you cannot use other resource to analyze the literary works.
Yes, I agree with you because new criticism is only focused on its own paper, so we cannot look for another resource to analyze it, right?
Yeah, right.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope that this video will help you to learn more about new criticism theory. And see ya!
See ya!
By the way, guys, do you believe that the murder really happened in real life? Or it is just in the man's imagination? Okay, before going to talk about that, I would like to tell you about schizophrenia. So, what is schizophrenia? Based on American Psychiatric Associations, schizophrenia is a chronic brain disorder that affects less than 1% of the US population. When schizophrenia is active, symptoms can include delusion, hallucination, trouble with thinking and concentration, and the lack of motivation. However, with treatment, most symptoms of schizophrenia will greatly improve. While there is no cure of schizophrenia, research is leading to new, safer treatments. Experts also are unraveling the causes of the disease by studying genetics, conducting behavioral research, and using advanced imaging to look at the brain's structure and function. This approach holds the promise of new, more effective therapies. But schizophrenia doesn't mean split personality or multiple personality. Most people with schizophrenia are not dangerous or violent. They also are not harmless or do they live in hospitals. Most people with schizophrenia live with family in group homes. What is the correlation between the man in the telltale heart and schizophrenia? Okay, based on the research from American Psychiatry Association that I mentioned before, there are one symptom that the man has. It is hallucination, including hear voice from another dimension, or hear some voice from hear voice that other people cannot hear. So based on that, we can assume that the man in the telltale heart has a mental illness, specifically schizophrenia. On the other hand, we can say that the man in the telltale heart has a schizophrenia, and there are two theories about this. The first theory is the murder is never happened at all. Why? Because the man has a schizophrenia, so he get the delusion and the hallucination about the murder and the heart beating of the man that he killed, but actually it didn't happen at all. And the second theory is the construction of the plot. What happened with the plot? In the second theory, we believe that the end of the story is actually the beginning of the story. Why? Because in the end of the story, the man that has a mental illness said that he hear heart beating of the old man. But in the beginning of the story, he said that some denials about he is insane. So the correlation between the beginning and the end of the story is when he hear heart beating of the man. In the end, he said he hear heart beating of the old man. So back to the first line, he denied that he was insane. So he proved that to kill or to murder the old man. Overall, this story, The Telltale Heart, is a good story to read.